Mount Everest reaches 8,848 meters into the sky. It is the highest point on Earth, yet humans have successfully summited it over 7,000 times. We have mapped every ridge, commercialized the ascent, and effectively conquered the roof of the world. But travel roughly 1,000 miles west, and you find a very different story. Mount Kailash is over 2,000 meters shorter than Everest, yet to this day, no modern human has ever stood at its peak. Access to the mountain is tightly controlled. Following a brutal border war with India in 1962, China seized roughly 720,000 square miles of territory. Since then, Mount Kailash has sat deep within the heavily militarized Chinese-occupied region of Tibet. But military borders don't explain the empty summit. Climbers have secured permits, expeditions have been funded. The mountain remains untouched because it actively resists those who try to scale it. In 1991, a joint team of Chinese and Japanese scientists set out to finally map the ascent. They waited for clear skies and began their climb. Almost immediately, a violent, localized storm materialized out of nowhere, completely engulfing the team in snow and freezing winds. The sudden drop in temperature and visibility trapped the expedition. All 19 scientists tragically died on the slopes. Unwilling to accept defeat, the Chinese government escalated their approach. If climbing was too dangerous, they would fly over the hazards. They deployed a helicopter on a perfectly clear day to reach the summit. As the aircraft approached the upper altitudes, the onboard systems began to fail. The radar screens went blind, the navigation compasses spun erratically. Eventually, the engine components themselves started shutting down, forcing the pilot into an emergency retreat to avoid crashing. The combination of total instrument blackout and sudden mechanical instability suggests a localized environment that modern aviation is simply not equipped to navigate. In the airspace around Kailash, our most advanced technology becomes a liability. Geographers point to the axis mundi theory, suggesting Mount Kailash acts as Earth's absolute magnetic center, a focal point where the planet's energies converge. This extreme magnetic concentration explains the scrambled readouts, creating a field intense enough to blind any navigation equipment. But the anomalies go far beyond broken compasses. A few decades ago, an international climbing team consisting of Russian, British, and American mountaineers attempted the ascent. They vanished on the slopes for 10 days with zero communication. When they finally reappeared, they were unrecognizable. Their hair and nails had grown at an alarming rate, and their faces were heavily wrinkled. Within a few short months of returning, every member of that expedition died of sudden, unexplained causes. These reports of accelerated aging suggest that the mountain's influence may extend beyond geography, affecting the biological pace of those who venture too close. Russian researcher Ernst Moldashev noted the mountain's 4 faces are remarkably symmetrical, a trait rarely seen in nature. Combined with reports of mechanical-like sounds emanating from the rock, he proposed a radical idea. Kailash is not a mountain, but a massive, hollowed-out pyramid, and the area around this structure is heavily monitored. In 2019, the Indian Army released official photographic evidence from an expedition near the region. They documented giant 14-foot footprints in the snow, attributing them to the Yeti, the elusive biological guardians of the high Himalayas. Then there are the spiritual guardians. Locals report sightings of Maha Aghoris, ascetic monks who endure the freezing altitudes in near nakedness. These practitioners engage in extreme, unbroken meditation, with local traditions claiming they live for centuries on these very slopes. Between the cryptid footprints, the immortal ascetics, and the geometric precision of the rock, the mountain operates entirely like an actively defended fortress. This intense concentration of energy is visible even before you step onto the mountain. Sitting directly at the base of Kailash are 2 massive lakes, lying side by side. The first is Lake Mansarovar. It is one of the highest freshwater lakes in the world. Despite the sub-zero temperatures that regularly hit the region, its waters remain perfectly calm, clear, and inexplicably refuse to freeze. Directly next to it is Rakshas Tal. This lake is completely devoid of life. The water is highly saline, and regardless of the wind conditions, the surface is constantly churning and turbulent. You have absolute stillness and violent chaos separated by just a few miles of rock. This geographical duality provides physical proof of the friction in the region, a literal battleground between pure, calm energy and aggressive, destructive forces. There is one final anomaly that leaves researchers entirely without answers. Visitors frequently report hearing the deep, rhythmic vibrations of the Om mantra, accompanied by the distinct beat of a damru drum, echoing directly from the stone. Scientists theorize these sounds are just high-altitude winds shearing against falling ice. But for thousands of years, Hindu, Buddhist, and Jain traditions have maintained a different explanation. The sounds are the living pulse of Lord Shiva. According to the ancient Puranas, Kailash serves as a cosmic vault. The ice and stone hide world-ending divine weapons, instruments of immense power like the Brahmastra and the Gandiva bow, keeping them out of human hands. Buried alongside these weapons is the Shiromani gem. Ancient texts state the gem rests inside the mountain, waiting for the immortal warrior Ashwatthama, who will retrieve it only at the apocalyptic end of the current age, the Kali Yuga. We have the helicopters, the oxygen tanks, and the extreme weather gear. Mount Kailash remains unconquered because it is a heavily enforced boundary. It stands as an eternal reminder that there are still places on Earth where human ambition is strictly forbidden from trespassing.